Hello everyone, this is Dr. Vivek Bhatnagar. Today I'll be delivering about the some content of software engineering in which I relate with uh, the software development process. There will be talking about the 4P: people, process, product, project. Then entry and exit criteria about this. Then there are certain other things about the factors which contributes about the crisis, about the other things like the predictability, early fault removal and defect prevention, and there are some support change. So if I'm talking about the process is nothing but the method of delivering a software, right? So if likewise I'm talking about the process, if the process is weak, your end product will also be weak and your project can the chances of project can fail. On contrary, if we are following a strong process, if your process is strong, so your end product will also be strong and your project can get success. So the basic focus of the software engineering is to on the process. Okay, we have to follow the strong process to be followed. So likewise, a processes also start with some activities involving like the constrained resources that they produce some intended output what we need. Right. So it means likewise in the process may be composed of some sub processes that are linked in some other ways. Like if I am talking about some hierarchy process that the organization that each sub process has its own process model. Likewise, so it means for the high quality process we need to define the proper processes that will help you to achieve the project objective of the high quality product. So likewise, so many processes we are talking about in the software engineering, but likewise if I'm talking about some process, the set of activity which just goal is to development or involvement of some software, because all the way I'm talking about the software specification, some development, some software validation, and as well as the evolution of the software. So these activities just start to be carried out by the software engineers, like how we have to start with this four the the four fundamental process for the activities, like the specification, the functionality of the software, then the development, how it meets the specification that must be produced, then for the validation it must be validated. Just have to ensure that what the customer want actually. Like then later on it the software evolution, the software must evolve to meet changing customer needs. Likewise, different ways are to be described and the different levels. So how we have to achieve it to go with the process. So there are some process that are more suitable with some type of applications, like I'm doing it. So from this example, you can see I'm talking about, I'm showing you so many processes for the engineering, project management, likewise configuration management, even the change management, inspection, and even the process management. But if on the core I'm talking about the development process, for the development process we have to have rely upon the SDLC life cycle. So like software process, in the process we have the product engineering processes, then the process management processes. Then on one way we have development process, on another way we have the project management, on another way we have the configuration and so on. So likewise in engineering, there are two stages which we are talking about: the engineering stage and the production stage. So in the engineering stage, we are reluctant to dependent upon the how the architecture of the software is. What is the idea which has to be generated and how it suits the idea which needs to go with the architecture, how we have to define. So so likewise, the process define who is doing what, when, and how to reach a certain goal, because the software engineering is a field which combines processes, method, tools for the development of a software. So from this concept, the main step of the engineering is approach is likewise the software is a set of activities, how we have to deal with the activities. Then if it is an art, if it is an craft, if it is an engineering, then how we have to go with so many areas which we have to go with it, the engineering principles which we have to uh, take in the consideration, that the development in the field of the software as well as in the field of the hardware too, right? So many instances have to be followed for the work product. So single entry and exit criteria should be there. So for the EVTX, okay, what I want, okay, each requirement should be feasible, each requirement should be testable, like single exit and entry criteria should be there. So many processes are to be executed. So likewise, so many product which we made is called the intermediate product. Like EVTX single entry and exit criteria should be there. Some conditions which must be satisfied, some task which has to be deployed, then verify the task in the form of output, and the phase that produce which is called the management phase, like this. What is input criteria which we take? Then we are considering the process which we take. Then after the process, we need to go with so many V and V principle, that is valid verification as well as the uh, validation principle. So many types, the product and the processes. Likewise, you know, what is delivered to the customer, which is called the product. So it may be like your source code specification, some document manual, some other things. So process is a way how we have to produce that software, because likewise, if it is a collection of an activity, but that leads to some product. Later on, it leads to some product. So it means the efficiency of the process is to be required to produce good quality of the product. So I would say the same thing again. If the process is weak, the end product will undoubtedly suffer. Definitely, and obsessively over reliance over the process, it would become dangerous. So many matrices are to be formed for the product, for the program, for the other life cycle, which are to be considered. So like so many process properties which are to be there for producing high quality of the product. Early default removal and the defect prevention. ठीक है, it should be show some predictability, and it should have some support change. So for the early default removal and the defect prevention, the fault should be removed in the same phase which they are to be accommodated. Likewise, if we are final verification of the requirement, then the fault must be rectified in the requirement phase. Otherwise, it could be quite costly to become the error accommodated in the second phase, while we have to turn back from the design, then come back with the requirement, rectify the error, move to the design. So at that time, the schedule slippage can be there, right? Then the start date and end date of the product may be slip, and extra cost we have to pay for that. So likewise, I just gave one example for the requirement for this. So we have to pay some extra money for the same. If we are rectifying the error in the requirement, come back with the design, rectify the error in the requirement, then come back. So likewise, this early default removal, it should be rectified in the same phase. For the predictability, what should be the outcome of the process is the predictability. So for the past performance, that could be can be used for predict the future performance. Suppose we have made a project A, that is a payroll system. We would like to make a project B which is similar to A, the payroll system with including GST. So I can predict the project A with respect to B, because A is similar to B, so I can predict B is similar to A. But once we make a B which is made by the same company, so I can predict, because we have learned from the software engineering, okay, we can reusability of the code. So I can pick the same content from the B, because the project A has been made earlier by the same company. Like, so what should be the outcome of the process? We can apply the predictability feature in that same manner. Likewise this. So for the consistently developed software, we need a high quality product, and process must be in the control manner. So for the support change, so many changes that are to be accommodated with respect to the requirement. Maybe the requirement change, maybe the infra change, maybe the design change, which could be accommodated in the engineering stage. That is the first stage, uh, which we have in the requirement analysis and design, as the design system design and the detailed design. In the first part of the engineering, the architecture has to be made and it is to be finalized. Like, so for the summary of the content, for this process is nothing but method of developing in software. Then then the people who are involved directly indirectly, maybe the engineer, software engineer, then the product is nothing but the method of developing a software, right? And project is your end implementation. So which is to be quite important, this 4P, which plays a major role in this software engineering. So now for the models, how we are to develop the various models which are to be there. So likewise, so many process of the development which are to be there, some methodology which we have framed, we have so many phases are to be there. So likewise, from the phases, we have learned one thing that which helps to understand the entire process, which enforce a structural approach, because a structure is to be made in a structure. We need to go to employ the divide and conquer technique. Then we need to enable the planning of the resource in the advance, because requirement, so many phases are to be there. Like then, then once we apply the life cycle, which consists of so many phases, and these phases can be identified with the entry and exit level criteria, like I discussed earlier. For the same aspect, uh, you know how it is to be there for the project initiation. So for that you need to go with the planning for the same. So different aspect of the process are to be framed. Likewise, is there any recognition needs for the same, because the problem has to be identified, and this decision about the problem, because I'm talking about an existing system, and for the existing system, what is to be there, the first stage of any project is to be system development life cycle, which needs to be gone in investigation. Like, so certain proposal is to be carried out. For the proposal, we need to change with the existing system which are to be identified, and what are the shortcoming of the existing system which are to be detected. So likewise, we have to frame according to the same phenomena. So as far as the requirement is to be concerned, it is considered to be the two part, what the system is doing and how the part is to be doing. So likewise, which needs to declare in the SRS document. So for the design, once we are moving from problem domain to the solution domain, of course we are moving with the design aspect. In the design, we need to with the system design as well as the detailed design, what the system is doing and how the system is doing. For the coding, nothing but converting the design into the code. There are some specification language. The code must be precise, easy to understand, and it takes a less span of time during the SDLC life cycle. For the testing and the quality assurance, there are the fourth phase, which takes a huge amount of time. That is the 35% of the efforts alone taken by the testing itself, because we have to consider some valid statements, some the invalid statements. So many inputs are to be there, during the major quality control during the software development. That is the testing. So the basic function which needs to detect error in the software. So the goal of the testing is to uncover requirement, design, coding. You know, so testing is, I would say, extremely critical and the time-consuming activity, because it requires proper planning of the overall testing process. For the overall testing process, I'm discussing about, the testing is to be the unit specified, then later on the integration, then system acceptance, and so on. Likewise, so many error which are to be accommodated in the requirement, design, coding, testing, etc. So the distribution of errors, like the requirement takes 10 to 20, design takes like, coding takes like, and testing takes. So the less span of the time is to be taken by the coding alone itself. So this is the distribution efforts which needs to be taken with the program, reading program, communication, some other program like this. So the defect are to be introduced, how it can be overcome with the defect. In the requirement, maximize the defect, maybe the 20 to 30% in design also, and in coding and testing alone takes the 50% of the, you know, the defects are to be there. So this is how we have discussed about the so many phases process, how we introduce the phases process. Likewise, maybe you able to understand about the video, then you may ask so many questions regardless of the video, right? So the phases, how we need to define the phases in the software engineering, why it is needed to revolve the process in the phases, right? So we apply software engineering. That's it. Thank you.